the same page right from the start, let's take a moment to revisit exactly what the work breakdown structure, often abbreviated as WBS, actually is. I always find it incredibly helpful to come back to this fundamental concept, and I do that because in my own experience, it's absolutely critical to the success of any project. And before we dive in, let me just say that these 10 commandments are based on years of experience, and they will serve you well. So at its very core, the WBS is a hierarchical grouping of all the project elements and components, and it's oriented directly toward the main deliverable of the project. What it does is organize and define the total scope of work that needs to be accomplished for the project to be completed successfully. That's the formal definition straight from the Project Management Institute's PMBOK guide, which is a widely accepted standard. And these organizations have rigorous standards, so their endorsement speaks volumes. In simpler terms, everything the project will deliver, or put another way, every single thing you need to do in order to deliver and complete your project successfully must be included in the WBS, no exceptions. And conversely, anything that is not in the WBS is theoretically not part of the project scope, and therefore you are not required to do it. That's a powerful concept. I often say that the WBS is one of the tools I use the most. In fact, it goes so far as to say it might be the one tool I always use without fail. I could go without using any of the other project management tools, but I will always rely on the WBS. Let me answer a question I get asked quite frequently. If you could only use one project management tool, which one would it be? My answer is always the WBS, and here's why. I can create a WBS with just a simple pen and a piece of paper, and use it to organize an entire project from start to finish. Of course, there are plenty of software options available that make the process even easier, but the truth is the WBS is an extremely powerful tool, and it's actually very simple once you truly master it. It's a key success factor for any project, and I can't stress that enough. It's so important that both the Project Management Institute and the U.S. Department of Defense were organizations that have developed many project management standards, and templates have published specific guidance on developing and creating the WBS. So today we're going to cover the 10 commandments for developing your WBS. You can use these as a handy checklist to ensure you never forget the critical steps, and I think y'all find them very practical. So let's begin with the first commandment. Now let's dive into the first commandment. First commandment, each element in your WBS must represent a tangible and verifiable result. So what does that really mean? Let me break it down for you in more detail. It means that every small piece you create within your WBS, and I am referring here specifically to each work package, which contains the activities and tasks where you can allocate costs and resource must. Once all of those tasks and activities have been executed, produce a deliverable that is tangible. By tangible, I mean you can actually see the result, touch it, or observe it in some concrete way. And it also has to be verifiable, meaning you can measure it, verify it, or control it against some standard or acceptance criteria. So every single work package needs to deliver a piece that contributes to the overall project. There should be no ambiguity about what that work package produces. Each work package is a building block, and when you put them all together, they form the complete project deliverable. This is a fundamental principle that ensures nothing is left vague. So remember, tangible and verifiable, that's the key. And this is really the foundation for all the other commandments. Moving on to the second commandment. Second commandment, all key deliverables of your project must be explicitly included in your WBS. In other words, every single thing you need to deliver or execute in order to complete the project successfully must be listed in the WBS. And conversely, anything that is not in the WBS is considered not part of the project scope, and therefore does not need to be delivered. So the WBS must contain the entire scope of work needed to complete the project. This is a crucial point because it defines the boundaries of your project. If it's not in the WBS, you are not responsible for delivering it. That gives you a clear line of what is in scope, and it helps prevent scope creep. This really helps in setting expectations with stakeholders and ensuring everyone agrees on what will be delivered. It also ensures that nothing is forgotten. Now for the third commandment. Third commandment. The key deliverables must be clearly defined so that the work to be performed is explicit. What this means is you need to name the elements and work packages in your WBS in a way that leaves absolutely no doubt about the result they're supposed to deliver. The WBS must be written clearly and be easy for anyone to understand. Of course, communication is always a bit tricky. You can't control exactly what others understand from your words. So your control lies in making it as easy as possible for your team members and stakeholders to understand when you create your WBS. Therefore, name your WBS elements clearly and explicitly so that the result each work package represents is completely obvious. In building on what we discussed in the previous episode, I also strongly recommend creating a WBS dictionary. That way someone can look at the name and immediately understand the result it delivers. But if they want more detailed information about costs, resources, predecessors, a full description, or acceptance criteria, they can refer to the WBS dictionary for that additional detail. The WBS dictionary is a companion document that provides all those extra details, so it's an invaluable resource. It's a separate document that you can update as needed. Clear naming is essential for avoiding confusion later on, and having a WBS dictionary is a best practice that I highly recommend. The fourth commandment is, the key deliverables must be decomposed to a level of detail that allows for proper planning and management of the work needed for their delivery. That means you keep decomposing your WBS step by step until the next level down would be a list of tasks. At that point, you stop decomposing because the WBS is not a task list, nor is it a budget, nor is it a list of activities. Remember, the WBS is a visual organization of all work packages that helps you complete the project. So you decompose to a level that allows you to plan for completing that work package. 8 should be a manageable level of detail, but without going down to the activity level. The activity level belongs in the schedule, not in the WBS. You want to stop at a point where you can assign responsibility, estimate costs, and manage progress without getting bogged down in individual tasks. Those tasks will be defined later in the project schedule. This is a key distinction that many people get wrong, so pay close attention to it. So remember, decompose until the next level would be tasks, then stop. Getting the level of decomposition right is a skill that comes with practice.